Hello everyone, and welcome to this video where I'm going to be showing you how to make these little presents with bows on top. Now these can be really multi-purpose, so they can be for happy birthday cards. If you change the colours up, then they can become Christmassy. You can use the metallic edge strips to really give them some shine, and then there's different uses for them, such as putting them on cards, making them into little gift tags there, and you can see I've got a different scale. You can make bigger ones. I've made this is like a little Christmas decoration. I've got some metallic paper in there. I don't know if you can quite see it, and I've made that into a Christmas tree decoration. So it's one of those things that I'll show you how to do, and then by all means you can really run with it and see what you can come up with for using them. Okay, so for materials that you will need, obviously you'll need a little pair of scissors, and I've got my favourite little embroidery scissors there. You will probably find it useful to have a ruler. I would highly recommend using pointed tweezers for this one. They will come in really handy. Obviously you will need your quilling tool. Again, I would recommend super fine tip, but if you've got a standard, if that's what you prefer, then go for that. You will need a selection of papers, and you can really go to town with colours on this one. So I've just chosen some nice bright colours. I am using 3mm for this because I'm going to be using it for cards and gift tags. But again, if you'd rather use the 5mm, that's fine. And if you're doing like a hanging decoration, then 5mm works better for that anyway. You will need your glue in a glue applicator, and then last but by no means least for this, we have this contraption. Now this is the one I sell in my shop, the Julia brand, and it's called a border maker, and it's hollow. It is just like this strange pyramid. It comes in a set of 3. So this is the square border maker. You also get a round one and a triangular one. And basically it's just got all these different steps on there, so you can make different borders of different sizes. So basically this one that we're going to make today is using number 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that one. But this little one is just using, I think, number 3. So it's just a really handy tool for making these borders, which you can then fill in. It's also really handy if you're making jewellery, hanging decorations, and whatever else your imagination can come up with that needs a border. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing. In the next video, we'll start to make our border for the presents. When it comes to making your border, the way this works is very simple. Basically, whichever size you're going to go for, you select that and you start to just wrap your paper around it, usually adding glue, and you just keep going round and round until you've got enough paper. Then you slide it off and it holds its shape. But obviously, depending on the size you're going for, depends on how much paper you need in order to really give it some rigidity when you take it off. Now we are going for number 6 this time, and just to show you, we're going to join some strips of paper together to make a long strip. And this one I made, these are both the same size, so number 6 that I'm showing you how to make today. This one I made using 2 strips joined together and wrapped round, and this one I made with 3 strips. So you can see it's just a little bit chunkier, obviously, because I've used more strips. So you maybe get a bit more of a pop of colour that way. This is a little bit more delicate. So it really depends on the kind of look you're going for, which one you prefer. Now, for showing you on camera, I'm just going to join 2 strips together, because just wrapping paper around a border maker doesn't make the best TV. So just to do it a bit quicker, I'm going to go for 2, but decide which you prefer, or maybe try one of each. Okay, so I'll put those to one side. I'm going to go for this lovely, gorgeous, bright green, lime green colour. So I've got 1 strip here. I need another full length strip, and we're just going to join them end to end. So I've got my glue. I'm going to just put a little dab of glue right on the end, and I'm just going to overlap them, maybe ½ centimetre if that, and I just join them up and make sure they're nice and level, and just pinch them until they're glued. There we go. So I've just got 1 very long strip of paper. Then get my border maker, and this can be a little bit fiddly until you're used to it. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the one I want, and I'm going to pop it on. I'm going to put it right down at the base, just so I can try and that will help me keep it level. So I'm going to pinch that there so that stays, and I'm going to do the first, try and stay on camera for you, that will help, won't it? I'm going to do the first wrap around, and then put a little bit of glue on the end of that, and then just try and make sure, I'm just checking that this strip that I'm wrapping on is nice and level with the one underneath, and that glue will just help to anchor it down. Okay, now when I first started using border makers and making my shapes, I was just putting that dab of glue on at the beginning and then a dab of glue on at the end, and I would take them off, and I would just be wondering, why aren't they holding their shape very well, and they wouldn't be very square and they'd get damaged easily, and basically I just wasn't using enough glue. Okay, so that's had a chance to dry a bit. What I'm going to do is do a whole side at a time and just put a line of glue there. It splodges out a little bit, just wipe that off. And then as I go around the corner, I just put a bit of tension, just pull on it a little bit. Not too much, because your strip of paper might snap, but just to really kind of sandwich it together. And then when it goes around the corner, you get a nice shape appearing that way as well. And same again. Line it up. And I'm pinching it with my thumb just to make sure it doesn't kind of twist while it's on the border maker. So that end that we first glued down stays in the same place. There you go. So pinch it down and give it a bit of tension, give it a bit of a pull. And you can see why I didn't go for 3 strips to show you how to do this, because that would be a bit tedious for you to watch. But I guess you can be making while this is running as well. So we just keep going round. It does help just to take your time with this, as with anything in quilling. You can't rush it. Glue's a bit blobby. And experiment with how it feels right to hold your border maker as well. Now remember, I'm left-handed, so I'm holding it in my right hand and guiding it round with my left. You'll probably want to do the opposite if you're right-handed. But often, to be honest, when I'm not on camera, I would be holding this kind of right up close to me. So this is kind of right against my stomach and winding it around that way. So just see how it works best for yourself, how you're holding it. Now putting all this glue in all the layers will just really help keep the shape when we slide it off. However, just suppose you were using the round one in your Border Maker set, but you didn't want circles. If you did want circles, you do it exactly the same way as this. But just suppose you wanted a teardrop. In that case, because you don't want it to be too rigid, you might want to not put the glue on in the same way. So it is a little bit trial and error, and if you're in our Facebook group and you're not sure which way of using a Border Maker would be right for what you want to do, just ask the question and I will do my best to advise you. Or you can just have a go, do a bit of trial and error. At least if something doesn't work so well, it's only a bit of paper, isn't it? It's not too much of an investment that you're losing, just a bit of time and maybe a bit of frustration. So I'm getting towards the end. Still going round. And what I want to do is keep my edges really nice and neat. So when I haven't got enough to reach a corner, then I will just trim off the excess rather than have an edge showing. So yeah, I can just about do 2 more sides, I think. So we'll keep going. Now then. Oh yeah, it'll still do another 2 sides. Okay, so it will just go beyond that corner. So I'm just going to trim it off so it finishes just before the corner, and this time put glue on that strip right to the end and press that down. There we go. So I've wrapped my whole 2 full-length strips around. Now to get it off, if you've got any nails, just get your nails underneath that edge, and I'm just easing it around because some of the glue might have splodged out. Just ease it off, and there we go. It comes off, and you've got a nice square. Okay, so easy as that. I'm going to show you a couple of slightly different ways of filling your little gift box with a bow on top. They're very similar. So this one here, I've used S-shaped scrolls, which look like that. And the one I showed you earlier for the Christmas decoration, you might be able to see that I've just used single open coils. So you've got the tail that ends there, and that just gives it a slightly more latticed feel. It's a little bit more open, and because it's much easier to do open coils like that with 2 colours, that's another thing that you can really play with. But for this one, let's just show you the S-shaped coil first. So I've got half a strip of paper here, and I have my quilling tool, and I'm just going to make an open coil as normal. So pop it in the quilling tool, wind it round, and I'm going to go part way down the piece of paper. I was going to say halfway, but it's hard to tell what exactly is halfway once you've already started to coil. But because we're putting it in a little present like this, it really doesn't matter how even it is. You don't particularly want it even. You want more of a pattern, so bigger ones and smaller ones. And before I take this off, I'm just going to give it a bit of a curl with my nail. Take it off. So we've got one open coil at that end. Then I'm going to go to the other end and coil in the opposite way. So this one is going around that way. So this one I want to go the opposite to give that kind of S shape. So pop it in my quilling tool and wind that round, and I'm going to go all the way so it bumps up against the other end that I've already done. So you can see they're really up close to each other, and then take them off and you have this lovely little S-shaped coil. And you can see, you know, I've got two different size shapes, but that's fine because I want a mixture of sizes and shapes in my gift box. So I'll pop that in there. And true Blue Peter style, here are some I've made earlier. And this is when your pointed tweezers can really come in handy, just to get hold of them and be able to arrange them. And it's just a matter of popping them in our little border. And because they're so bouncy and open and full of air, you can really play around with the different sizes, the different shapes. And if you want to, you can really kind of squash them down as long as they don't pop out. And you can kind of open that up so that goes all the way up there and fit another one in down here. And you can be quite not rough with them, but just really make them do what you want them to do. I'm getting there with that one. I've just got a bit of a gap in that corner, which may be a bit too much. I mean, some negative space is really nice with these, but that's maybe just a little bit too big. So what you can always do as well is just think that would probably fit in there. So if I just trim that off, so I've got just a single one, and squeeze that in there. There we go, that's better. And then you can really just turn it round and see which way works best. And now if you want to glue it straight down onto your card, by all means, that's absolutely fine. But because I've squished these in a little bit, I can actually pick that up. I've put no glue on there at all yet, but I can pick it up, move it around, and they're going to stay where they are. Okay, so that's one way. Now the other way is just using a simple single open coil. So if I get a strip of the pink here that I'm going to use inside my blue, and again I'm going to just use I might just use a quarter for this one, quarter or a half, see what kind of sizes you like to put inside your border. And I'm just going to make just a really simple open coil, and I'm just going to curve that a little bit so it's got a nice shape, but I am going to go pretty much to the end. Okay, so that gives us just a really simple little open coil with a really tiny little tail, because you can always open them out and make the tail a little bit bigger if you want to. And then it's very similar, just again, here are some I've made earlier, and you can just again really play. So these little tails, I would have that right bumping up against the border, and then you can just really play again, arranging them, and just have fun playing with them and making patterns and seeing what happens. This one might be easier to glue straight down. Depends how much you want to squish them in. And of course, if it's going to be on a card, then it's easier. You can just glue them straight down. But again, you can squish them in as much as you want to. Got a little one here, so I wonder if that would fit in there without everything going pear-shaped. Oh, I'm just making it look really easy for you. There we go. And you've popped out now. Get your tail back in there. There we go. And you can always just move them around a little bit so they're bumping up against each other. And that might be a little bit looser than the other one, so that coil's going to come out. So if I squeeze another one in there. Like so. That's better. And then just bring that tail around there. There we go. And again, you can play with that and keep going until you're happy with all your lattice. And just there, I think there might be another gap down there. I think that might be a little bit big. So if I just wind that up a little bit, cut a bit of the tail off. Oh no, I've knocked another one out. There we go. There we go, I'm happy with that now. And again, that's going to stay put as I move it around. So we've got two slightly different filled boxes now. So next we're going to put some ribbon on and a bow on the top. Okay, so adding the ribbon can be a little bit fiddly, but as with all quilling, just take your time and you will get there. Okay, so I've just got a short strip of paper. It doesn't really matter about the length because we're going to be cutting it down anyway. So I've got my little present here and I'm going to measure what it is across. So that's 3.3, and then I'm going to add a few millimeters on each side. So if I cut it about 3.8, that should be about wide enough to go across the present and fold over at the sides. So you can, by all means, just cut it exactly the length across and glue that down. But I just like the paper to just go slightly over the edge as well. So when I've done that, I'm just going to fold over the side, pop that on there, and get my pointy tweezers and pinch them exactly where I want the fold to be. Whoops, without dropping it. Put the fold in there, and then hopefully that will be just about, yeah, the right size to go across there. Lovely. Then what I will do is get hold of it in my tweezers, put the glue, just a line of glue, making sure I've got glue on the sides as well that are going to go around, and then I'm just judging it by eye. Hopefully it's roughly halfway and pretty level, I think. And then just press down the sides. If your sides are a little bit long, you can always trim them. Got a bit of glue there, so I use my tweezers just to wipe away any glue before it dries. Press that down, and there we go, that's one done. Then I want one going across, so again I've got just another small piece. So what did I say, 3.8. So hopefully if it's square it should be about the same. Cut that to size, fold the edge over, pop that on so the folded edges over there. Use my pointed tweezers to pinch exactly where I need the other fold, and just check that's going to fit. Yeah, perfect. That might be just slightly, ever so slightly long on that side, so I can always just trim a tiny bit. And again, get hold of it in my tweezers, pop some glue. Now if this is too fiddly for you, you can always skip this bit. And then again, just judging by eye, hopefully get it quite level. And of course, putting these ribbons on also helps to start to kind of glue together, because where the glue is on the ribbon underneath, it's stuck to the coils. So just pressing the sides down. There we go, that's just about level. Never perfect, but who wants perfect? There we go. So we've got some ribbon. So all I need now is a bow at the top. And it really depends how big you want your bow to be. Now for this one, the Christmas decoration one, obviously it's a different style bow, and I've made that on the round shaped border maker, so it's more hollow, and that gave me somewhere to kind of put my to hang the ribbon so it can go on the tree. So that's one example if you like that one. And I've done these on, as I say, the round border maker, and then just pinched it to make that kind of slightly more bow shape. And this one is obviously just some closed loose coils pinched into shape. So again, depends how big you want to go. I'm going to do half strips and have a nice big bow. Like Esme in the Sewing Bee, I like nice big bows. So I'm going to cut my strip into half, and it's just a really simple basic closed loose coil. So I'm coiling all the way to the end of that strip, slide it off and let it go. I'm going to do another one. Oh, I've got a bit of gum on the end of there, just trim that off. Again, going all the way to the end, so they'll be roughly the same. And then I'm going to have this middle a little bit smaller. So this time I'll do, what was that, half? So this will be a quarter of a strip. And I'm just doing all my winding first, and then I'll do all the gluing. There we go. So with like the two sides, I've got my glue, put a little bit of glue on the end, smooth that down so it sticks. So I've got closed loose coil. Then this one, I want them to be roughly the same size. So I'll just measure it one against the other, wind it up if needs be. That'll be roughly the same. And again, smooth that down. So we've got circles so far, and we want a kind of a sort of rough triangular shape. So where the end is that I've glued down, I find that. So I'm going to pinch there, just between finger and thumb, and then at the other end, I'm just going to give it a bit of a press. And you can decide how much of a triangle you want. Go for quite a soft look, like so. Okay. This little one is going to just stay as a circle for the center. So I'll just glue the end down. like so, and this one again. So just pinch it between finger and thumb, and then at the other end just give it a press until it creases as much as you want it to. And then we have a little bow. So then I've got my, decide which way up you want your present to be. I don't think it really matters. I'm going to go that way. No, I'm not going to go that way. So that would go on there, and then they would go either side. So I will get my pointed tweezers so I can get hold of that nicely. And again, I'm going to look for that end where I glued the end down, and that's where I'm going to put the glue, just to hide that nicely and keep it really nice and neat. Oops, put that on top of my present. And you can just get your pointed tweezers in there and just give it a tiny little bit of pressure just to help that glue down. When that's in place, then you can get the size of your ribbon, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue to stick there, and then just see where it's going to touch the present. So I'll need a little bit of glue there as well. So dab of glue on the end and a dab of glue there. Just very gently pop that into position. Again, use your tweezers just to put a bit of pressure so it sticks. And then last one, same thing. So there'll be glue on the end and then glue just where it touches the box, the border. A bit there, bit there. And pop that into place as well. I'm just trying to even it all up. And there we go, we have a little gift box. I think they're really cute. What I really love are doing them in miniature, as I've done with this one here. It's exactly the same techniques, just on a smaller scale. And of course, when you get onto going in a smaller scale, it just gets a little bit more fiddly, but it's exactly the same. And the ribbon, I've used the 3mm paper and I've just cut them in half. So top tip, if you're doing that, because it's quite hard to cut it evenly, so it's level all the way, cut them short first before you try cutting them in half. Okay, so basically if I needed roughly that width, put my tweezers down. So once you've just got this nice short piece, you've got more of a chance of being quite level. And if you just get started first, so I've made one little snip and that's not even at all. So I can just move down a little bit and that's much better. So I know that snip is about even, and then it's a little bit easier then just to keep going and keep it parallel. So you get roughly even strips that way, okay? But have some fun with it, see what you can come up with and what variations, and I'd love to see some pictures once you've been making stuff, okay? And you know where I am if you need me, if you've got any questions. All right, bye for now.